Hello there, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my reset day. I know I'm looking rough, okay? But I just got home late last night from China and Singapore, so I feel like it's kind of justified.
China.
But I need to get my life together today. I need to unpack, do laundry, go grocery shopping, get back in the gym, answer emails, and just get back to a normal routine. It's a Tuesday. I think it's June 24th, because I'm pretty sure I was traveling home on June 23rd, but I have lost track of days at this point. But I wanted to bring you along with me while we focus on things other than the classroom. There's not gonna be anything really teaching related in this video. We're just gonna hang out for the day, kind of catch up. I'll fill you in on my trip and I'll talk about some things that I have coming up. First question, are you team unpack as soon as you get home, or do you wait and unpack like the next day or a week later? I am sure this is no surprise, am usually team unpack as soon as I get home, but because yesterday, by the time we got home, we had been up traveling for over like 30 hours, so we were very, very tired. Plus, Billy had to get up this morning and go to work, bless his heart. So we compromised and I said, okay, I won't unpack as soon as we get home. I'll wait and unpack today. There we go. Okay. So as I mentioned, Billy and I traveled to China and Singapore and technically South Korea, but we'll come back to that. This trip was mostly driven by my 40 before 40 list, which I know I've talked about. I have a list of 40 things I want to do before turning 40. And so a lot of our travel right now is kind of inspired by things on that list. And one of the items on my list was walking on the Great Wall of China. So I mentioned that we ended up in South Korea. So the trip started on a little bit of a rocky start. First of all, this toiletry bag, absolutely love it. Billy and I just share a suitcase whenever we travel. And this toiletry bag has both of our toiletries, all of my makeup, all of my jewelry, which was really one pair of earrings. But I know this is a super popular thing now, but it's one of those like hanging toiletry bags. So once we get to the hotel, we just hang it on one of the towel racks and then it has everything that we need. And I love it. So most of our toiletry stuff, thankfully, we have duplicates of, so we don't need to like do much when we unpack, we just kind of keep it in there, but then we have to replenish things like the mini toothpaste tubes. Anyway, so we had originally scheduled a nonstop flight from Dallas to Shanghai. So on Friday, I don't know what day it was, but it was a Friday, we drove up to my parents' house, dropped off Ember because they were taking care of her while we were gone. We stayed overnight at a airport hotel, which I highly recommend if you have a airport where the parking is absorbent, like the Dallas parking, I wanna say it's $18 or $20 a day, just ridiculous. Some hotels, if you stay there, they will let you leave your car for free and then they'll have like an airport shuttle and they'll take you to the airport and pick you up and then you come get your car. So that's what we did. We stayed at a Residence Inn by Dallas Fort Worth. And as a result, we didn't have to pay parking. So check with your hotel because that might be a good option, especially for a longer trip. But we flew out on Saturday morning and it was nonstop, 15 and a half hours, I wanna say. The flight was fine. We got into like just right outside of Shanghai and the pilot said, okay, we're waiting to land, like we're circling because they're having some weather issues. There was a typhoon coming in from the south. So we circled for a while. So at this point, we've been on the plane for like 17 hours. And then all of a sudden the pilot comes on and says, well, we're running out of gas. So I have to make a decision and we don't know how long it could be until the weather clears. So I'm rerouting us to South Korea, to the Seoul Incheon, I think was the name of the airport. Great, because at this point we've been on this plane for like almost 20 hours. We were exhausted. So we ended up landing in Seoul and staying there overnight. By the time we landed, we had to stay on the plane for another like 4 hours because they were not planning on us landing there. They had to reprint all new boarding passes for us for the next day. They had to do all of this like security type of stuff because they had to escort us from the plane through like immigration, customs, and then to shuttle buses to take us to the hotel for the night. Then they just kind of snuck in there, oh yeah, you can't take your bags, like they have to stay on the plane because of FAA regulations and whatnot. So we were boarded onto a shuttle in a country where we're not planning to stop, although it was cool because Billy and I have wanted to go to South Korea, and technically now we have, but obviously we need to go back to actually sightsee. The next little curveball was we were on the shuttle, they had told us the hotel we were going to, so we had found it on the map. Okay, it's not far. All of a sudden, we're heading into the city of Seoul, and Billy's like, the hotel is the other direction. We're trying to communicate with the driver. He doesn't know any English. Thankfully, the girl we were seated next to on the plane was actually born in South Korea, and she spoke Korean, so she started speaking to the driver. Turns out the other hotel was full, so they were sending us to another one, but again, we have no idea where we're going. It all worked out, but we didn't have our bags, so like we couldn't brush our teeth, we couldn't change clothes. We had been on the airplane for like almost 24 hours straight, like not just traveling, but on that singular airplane for 24 hours. And then we had to get up the next morning, go back to the airport. They used the same shuttles to take us back. And we then flew from South Korea to Shanghai. Another thing that I love that I got recently, y'all know I've used packing cubes for a while now and love them, but I got these like expandable and collapsible ones. So it has a second zipper, so they'll start out really thick. And then after you put your clothes in there, you can zip it up and it will compress it down so it makes it like even thinner. So you can take like a whole big thing and compress it down. And I love them. It's the Bagel brand, but I will link them for you. So as a result, we did not really get to experience Shanghai. We were supposed to have like Saturday evening and then most of the day on Sunday before taking a bullet train to Beijing. But because we got in basically the time we were supposed to take the bullet train to Beijing, we did not get to see Shanghai. We also opted to then fly. I did not wear this at all, but it's been with dirty clothes. I feel like I need to wash it anyway. We ended up flying from Shanghai to Beijing. This is just a rain jacket. I'm not gonna wash that. And we just couldn't risk missing the bullet train by the time we got in from our flight, and then we were gonna have to drive an hour to get to the bullet train station. So we ended up just booking a flight. So we finally got to Beijing Monday night, which we left, as you remember, on like Friday to head up to Dallas. And then the trip didn't really start until Monday night. But we got there, and that's all that matters. Like, it can always be worse. That's what I have to remind myself in those situations. But we were panicking because if we had missed the bullet train, like there were limited options to get to Beijing, and the whole reason we were going was to get to Beijing. So we checked into our hotel Monday night, and then we ended up going out for street food because I love street food. China has phenomenal street food, as does Singapore. And when I travel through my stomach. So we just kind of walked around. I think we went to, it's called Ghost Street. I'm gonna use a lot of American names, or I will spell things because otherwise I will butcher the pronunciation and I don't wanna offend anyone. But we just walked around, got whatever street food looked good. We were starving at this point, and it was a lot of fun. Like Billy and I have always said when we travel, like just those little places that we stumble across end up being some of our favorites. Okay, I had to take a break and go get water. If you're like me, you get really dehydrated when you travel. We'll come back to that. At home, I'm really good at staying hydrated. I drink so much water, but when I travel, because my routine is different and I don't have my usual water bottle, I'm really bad at it. So, this is just water with a flavoring packet, but so needed. That's our goal today, is to rehydrate.
Those of us who are busy require hands-free hydration.
As soon as I get back from travel, I'm like, I just need to drink and chug a bunch of water to get back to baseline. But the next full day, our first full day really, on Tuesday, we had booked tickets, or rather a tour of the Forbidden City. So we got up that morning, we went and found some random breakfast that had like dim sum. We then did the Forbidden City tour, and it was hot. Even our tour guide is like, it's very hot today. But it was awesome. If you're not familiar, I'm gonna do awful explaining this, but the Forbidden City is where the emperors from the last two dynasties, so the Ming and Qing dynasty, lived. And it is so extensive. The tour guide said there were just under 10,000 rooms. And at first I was like, I don't know if I believe them. But then the next day we walked up this hill in a park that overlooked all of the Forbidden City, and you see it and you're like, okay, yeah, now I think I get it. It's massive. But that tour lasted for about 4 hours, and we were very tired and dehydrated by the end of it. So we went back to our hotel, just kind of freshened up, cooled off. we went out for dinner, and we had kind of planned to have like our nicer dinner that night, which was Peking duck. And let me just say, whenever I travel somewhere, I research the food extensively, and Beijing is known for Peking duck. Outside of Peking duck, it's not a big like food city. Honestly, Shanghai was more of a food city, so it's kind of sad we didn't get to experience that. But Beijing is known for Peking duck, and I had some high expectations. It still blew me away. Favorite thing we had the whole trip, just because it was unlike anything I've ever had before. I've had duck, and I like duck, but Peking duck is a whole nother level. The skin is like so crispy. You put it in your mouth and it crunches, but only for a second, and then it just like disintegrates and melts, and it's so like fatty and oily. They actually have sugar for you to dip it in to help cut that like super umami fattiness, and it was unlike anything I've ever had. So good. So highly recommend, if you're ever there, get Peking duck. After that, we just kind of walked around, got some street food. I think one of our biggest surprises in Beijing was how incredibly cheap the food and the transportation. So they use a service called Didi, which is basically like what Uber is here. And the Didi rides were like less than a quarter of what an Uber ride would be here. Same thing for the food. Like we would get a big spread of food and it would be like $10. So we balled out on food. We ate a lot. But we walked around, just kind of got some more street food. It was really nice. There was one girl that came up to us at one point. We were eating some like candied hawthorn on a stick, which is like a popular sweet treat there. And she asked if we spoke English. We said yes. And then she wanted to practice. She was learning English. She wanted to practice with us. So we talked to her about like the flavors in the sweet treat, and it was a really, really cool experience. Then the next day was, oh, this drives me nuts. Anyone else? I turn all of my socks like the right way so that the outside gets clean, and Billy always leaves his inside out. And then when they go through the washer like that, they don't get clean, because when I'm putting laundry away and I flip them inside out, there's still hair and everything. Ugh, drives me nuts, but I still love them, I swear. It's just one of those things. So the next day was our Great Wall tour day. And so it started early in the morning because we chose to do the, oh gosh, hold on. Mutianyu. I didn't want to butcher it. Mutianyu. There's another really popular area of the Great Wall, it starts with a B, but we didn't want to do that one. We wanted to do that one that's like a little bit farther away and less touristy. It's still touristy. It's the Great Wall of China, but less touristy. So we booked a tour. The shuttle driver picked us up. It was a group of like 7 of us, I want to say. It was about a 2-hour drive to get up to the Great Wall, but along the way we stopped at the Summer Palace, which is where the emperor's mom would stay in the summer. She was called like the Dragon Lady, and I guess she kind of bankrupted the dynasty. I don't know. Didn't sound like a great lady, but our tour guide walked us through the Summer Palace, kind of gave us the brief history, and then we also drove by the Bird's Nest, which is where the Olympic Stadium, when it was held in Beijing, was, and we then drove the rest of the way to the Great Wall. Once we got there, we took the chairlift up, and we had basically 2 hours. There were 2 routes that you could go. One was more flat and the other one was more steep. So we went up the steep route. And again, it was hot. I mean, this whole trip, I was just perpetually sweaty. Very sweaty, very hot, but it was unbelievable. I mean, it was on my 40 before 40, and I think it's one of those cliche things that everyone's like, I want to walk on the Great Wall of China. And honestly, like, I didn't believe if I'd ever get there. And so by putting it on my list, it kind of forced us to like make plans for it. And it's just incredible. Now, the parts of the wall that are open to tourists have been like kind of restored, because there are other parts of the wall that are very much like disintegrating and haven't held up. But still, just knowing like how old it is, and you see just how far it goes, it's incredible. Then we opted to take the toboggan down. So you can take the chairlift back down. There's also a cable car, or you can take a toboggan. So it's like a little sled kind of thing, and you're on like a metal course. So we did the toboggan down, which was so much fun, really, really cool. After that, we had a little tea ceremony, and speaking of which, we ended up buying some tea. It's so funny because Billy and I are not tea drinkers, we're coffee drinkers. And going into the tea ceremony, I had told Billy, I was like, we're not buying anything. We're not buying anything. Well, the last tea they had a sample was like a fruit tea. I think it's more of like almost like a dessert tea for them. It's basically just dried fruits, and then I think there's like rose in here. We both took one sip and looked at each other, and it's like, we're getting some of that. So good. So we got, I think this was like a kilo of the fruit tea, and then she also threw in some little like canisters. The only other souvenir that we got, and actually we got this from the restaurant, the local restaurant that our tour guide took us to before the Great Wall, were a set of like really nice like chopsticks. Although I'm hearing noise, and I'm like, oh no. Yep, one of them broke. Why am I not surprised? Oh no, two of them broke. Okay, so we have one set that's good, and then both of those broke. Well, okay, it is what it is. I mean, that's part of the risk that you take, but so this was our set, but she has seen better days. It's fine, it's all memories. So, phenomenal day. When we got back that night, again, we were both very, very tired, so we went back to the hotel, just kind of relaxed for a bit, and then I'm trying to remember what we did for food that night. Oh, so that was our last night in Beijing, and we had found a restaurant. They use an app, Unpacking, I think is how it's pronounced, but it's almost like their version of Yelp. And we had found a restaurant that had really good reviews for just kind of very basic like local cuisine. So we went there, it was really, really good. We had to then like pack up and get ready to then fly to Singapore the next day. So I'm gonna finish unpacking all of this. I need to get another laundry basket. We're gonna go put laundry in the actual washing machine, and then we'll catch up on Singapore. Okay, this shows you how tired I am. Completely lied, that was not our last day in Beijing. I had to look back at my notes. And that was not the night that we went for like local cuisine. That was the next night. The night of the Great Wall, we did hot pot, which it was our first time ever doing hot pot, and I'm so out of breath. Just from walking downstairs with the laundry basket. But Beijing hot pot, I think, is a little different than some of the other hot pot styles. Not that we had anything to compare it to because it was our first time, but it was so much fun, fantastic flavor. We opted for like the spicy hot pot because we love spicy food. Now, granted, we didn't really know what we were doing. We were trying to learn by watching those around us. They were probably laughing at us, but we did the best that we could. It was fine. Cool experience. The next day was our food tour. I don't know how I forgot about that, but we did a private food tour in Beijing through like the hutongs, which are basically these narrow alleyways, just the way that the city is set up and constructed. So our tour guide's name was Miko, and it was just us and him. This was our first time ever doing like a private food tour, but it was awesome. My favorite way to learn about a city when we travel is through food tours, especially with locals, because you learn so much about the city. You get to visit places that you never would have found otherwise, or even really felt like comfortable ordering at, you know what I mean? So it was about a 4-hour tour, and we went to a bunch of different places. We actually started with another version of hot pot, but rather than you cooking it in the pot yourself, it's almost like build your own bowl. Like you would put the ingredients in the bowl, they would cook it and then serve it to you in the broth. We went to a little like local grocery store. We got some like teas. We got some more candied hawthorn. We then walked through the streets and got some, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, jiangbing, which is more traditionally like a breakfast street food in Beijing, but it's almost like a thin crepe with an egg and then spices and like onions and cilantro, although everywhere else in the world, they call it coriander. Now for us, coriander is like the ground up seeds, but they call the leaves coriander as well, whereas we call them cilantro. So coriander, and then they put this like crispy rice piece in the middle, fold it all up, and then it's served to you in like paper. That was second to Peking duck. That was my favorite thing that I had. It was so, so good. We then went to a spot where they had a different like regional food. The city, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, but it was a different city more south that's known for like spicy food. And we had told our tour guide that we like spicy, and he was even warning us. He's like, this might be too much for you, but Billy and I were fine. It was really, really good. We also went and got some steamed dumplings. They were like Shanghai soup dumplings. And then we went to a place that had some like sweet treats. We got, not that they have a lot of sweet treats, it's very different than the sweet treats here, but we got to try some different things, like what they call it, a donkey roll, and it was very, very good. The very last thing that we tried, the only thing we didn't like was the fermented mung bean like drink. It was not delicious, but I don't think we are in the minority thinking that. Oh, we also during the food tour tried a soup that had like pig intestine and beef lung in it. Really, really good. Now, Billy and I are pretty adventurous with our food, like we're willing to try anything, but we really enjoyed it. We also tried some millet that had like a sesame paste on top. I really liked it. Billy didn't, although Billy doesn't really like oatmeal and stuff. To me, it kind of had a similar texture to grits, but I really, really enjoyed it. And then that night is when we did the kind of traditional, just like local cuisine. And then the next day is when we flew to Singapore. Okay, I'm gonna sit down as I recap the rest of this, because every time I look at my notes, I realize there's stuff I forgot to add. The morning of the food tour, before the food tour, we got up early and went and did the Temple of Heaven. And then after the food tour, we did Tiananmen Square, and we went to that park that I mentioned that overlooked the Forbidden City. So we packed as much into those days as we could to see Beijing in basically 3 full days. So the next day, I don't even know what day that was. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday morning we got up, we flew to Singapore. It was about a 6.5 hour flight. So we got into Singapore like early afternoon, got to our hotel. And then from there, we wanted to just walk around and explore. So we walked from our hotel over to the like Merlion Park area. It's where they have the Merlion statues. So it's almost like a mermaid mixed with a lion. It's kind of what Singapore is known for. That, and then the filming of Crazy Rich Asians at the Marina Bay Sands. But we took pictures around that area. We then walked to one of the really touristy hawker centers. So Singapore is known for having hawkers. So a hawker is like a person that sells a food stall. And so they have these hawker centers where there's just like rows and rows of all of these food stalls where you can buy like street food. And it was one of the things we were really looking forward to experiencing, and it was phenomenal. So we wanted to go to one of the real touristy areas first. That way we could kind of get our feet wet. We knew we were gonna go to other ones throughout the trip, and it would give us a good comparison. So we went to, I'm not gonna pronounce it, but it's one of the ones that I think they went to in like Crazy Rich Asians. And so it's really popular, but Billy and I just like took turns. So like I picked the first dish, and then you would keep your table, like they use what's called like choping. And so they'll put like a pack of tissues down to claim a table. So once you have a table, it's like a coveted area. So then like I would stay at the table, Billy would go out and pick another item and come back and we'd share it. And then I would go around and pick another item and come back and share it. So it was a lot of fun. We tried so many different foods. That's what's awesome about the hawker centers, is you experience so many different cuisines in like one area. Then that night we were tired, so we went back to the hotel, got up the next morning fairly early for another food tour. This one was a group tour, but it was like 6.5 hours long, which is the longest food tour we've ever done, but by far the best one. It was with a born and bred Singaporean. His name is Jerry, and I will link the tour. I know Singapore is probably not like a super popular spot that most of you would travel to, but in case you ever go, you have to do this food tour. I booked it because there were so many rave reviews. I almost thought it was too good to be true, but Jerry is just a national treasure. He was amazing. He picked us up at like 8:40 that morning. There were 2 other people joining the tour, one guy from Chicago and then a girl from Florida. And he was taking us to kind of some of the main like condensed areas of Singapore. We went to Chinatown, Little India, and then Kampong Glam, which is like the Malay area. We started in Chinatown. He took us to like a real old hawker center across from a temple where a lot of like the local, especially more like elderly citizens go. And we basically sat down at the table. He just ordered a bunch of stuff and then explained it all to us. And what I love about food tours is you get the history of the city too. So he was showing us pictures and talking about like the development of Singapore. Ate the meal, it was fantastic. So remember how I said I was really dehydrated? I ended up passing out. And I can laugh about it now. In the moment, it was kind of scary. But after we got up from the meal, we were walking around the hawker center so he could show us the different stalls where he got stuff from. And I felt a little funny. Billy was asking if I was okay, and I was like, yeah. But at the same time, I could tell like something was wrong. All of a sudden, like it all started to go black, and I was able to kind of prop myself up against the wall. Obviously, I was then passed out, but from what Billy told me, like, you know, I went limp noodle, they got me down to the floor. Jerry, being the awesome tour guide that he is, was like getting my feet up above my heart. When I finally regained consciousness, it was really freaky because I didn't see Billy. He was kind of behind me, like supporting my neck. So I saw the other people on the food tour and Jerry and like some of the locals. And I was hearing a lot of like Chinese, so I wasn't understanding anything, and I'm seeing all the signs in Chinese, and like I did not feel like myself. It was a very like out of body experience. And I remember the first thing I said, I was like, I have no idea where I am. And then me being me, I was able to see one of the hawker stalls and the sign said chicken rice, which is one of like kind of the dishes that Singapore is known for. And it was in English, and I was able to go, okay, chicken rice, Singapore. Okay, I'm in Singapore, I'm traveling. Like I was able to put the pieces together, but like I was fine. I think it was just being really dehydrated. And then the heat, well, like I'm used to the heat in Texas. It was very, very humid there, but it was fine. And our tour guide was great. He made sure I stayed hydrated after that. We got in the shade a lot. There was one other spot where I started to feel it again, but I was able to like sit down and it was fine. But kudos to our other members of the tour guide, like they were so supportive, and it kind of worked out that one of the other members of our tour group was a cardiologist. You never know. But after Chinatown, we then went to Little India. He took us through one of like the fish markets and the areas where they make the clothes and the beautiful saris. And we got to see like the beautiful mosque, like, oh, just stunning. He then took us to a local restaurant, ordered again, a bunch of food that we enjoyed. So, so good. I was a little nauseous at this point, so I tasted everything, but I didn't have a huge appetite. Then we walked around, went to Kampong Glam, and we ended up getting ice cream there. But he showed us a lot of like local street art, and it was a beautiful area. He then took us through the MRT, which is like their subway system, to get back to our hotel. I then not actually passed out, I took a nap for like 3 hours. I just needed to recover, didn't really feel good, had a headache. We got up that night and we had booked tickets for the night safari at the Singapore Zoo, which usually I'm not a big supporter of zoos, but I had heard like the Singapore Zoo is a really, really top tier one. And so I rallied, we went and did the night safari. It was a really cool, kind of unique experience. We got dinner, came back, went to sleep. Got up the next morning, and thankfully our last full day in Singapore was a lot more like just kind of chill. We could do whatever we wanted. The one thing we knew we had to get was kaya toast and kopi, which is like their coffee. It's what they're known for. Kaya is almost like a coconut jam, and so kaya toast is like the coconut jam with butter and then on toast, usually like cooked over a charcoal grill. So we got some of that, it was delicious. Love the coffee because it's very strong, which Billy and I love strong coffee. And after that, let me see what's on the list that we did. Oh, we went to Gardens by the Bay, which is at the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. And there's like an outdoor garden area that you can just walk around, like where the super trees are, but then there's like ticketed areas. So we did the cloud forest, which is where the big indoor waterfall is, and then also the like indoor flower garden. Those were really cool to see. We went to another hawker center for dinner. We went to one in Chinatown, and then again, I didn't have a huge appetite, but Billy had certain things where he's like, I want more laksa, because we love laksa, and he wanted some more satay. So he kind of went to town. I was able to stomach a little bit, and then we ended the night with the Super Tree Show, which they have like 2 shows each night. It's free to watch, but they're these big trees that have a bunch of lights on them, and they are all animated to music at Marina Bay Sands. So we ended with that. It was a great way to end. Went back to our hotel, packed up, and then we had to get up pretty early on, what day is it? Because today's Tuesday, Monday. So we had to get up pretty early on Monday to fly home. We were connecting through Tokyo. So we flew 7 hours from Singapore to Tokyo, had a layover, and then flew like 12 hours from Tokyo to Dallas. Thankfully, there were no flight issues on the way back. And then we had to drive from Dallas to my parents and then my parents' home. So we got home pretty late last night. But overall, phenomenal trip. Definitely want to go back. I mean, there's so much more in China that we want to see. We loved Singapore. We felt like we did everything we wanted to do while we were there. We would still go back because we loved like the culture of it. But there's just so many places, especially in like Southeast Asia, that we want to see. Like we want to go do a South Korea trip. We want to do a Japan trip. We want to go to Malaysia, we want to go to Thailand, like there's just so many places. But it's hard because it does take a while to fly there. Although coming home is nice because our flight from Tokyo, basically the time we took off in Tokyo is the time that we landed in Dallas because you're flying during that like time change period. But great trip. Later in the vlog, we'll talk about some other trips that I have coming up because summer's not over yet. Okay, everything is unpacked. We are on our second cup of water. I opted for plain this time. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I now own CROCS. I just unboxed things that were delivered while we were gone and I had ordered these before we left. No offense, but I just have never been a fan of CROCS in the way that they look, but I came across these and I was like, you know what, they're actually really cute. They're called the GETAWAY STRAPPY. Like this is what they look like. So they just have basic like straps. I was like, you know what, those are actually cute. And I'd heard they were really comfortable and my feet can now confirm I'm happy with my purchase. But next thing on my list is grocery shopping. Thankfully, I already meal planned and made my grocery list on the plane. It's one of my favorite things to do when I travel because I know when I get back, I need to go grocery shopping. And so I can make my list while I'm on the plane and don't have Wi-Fi access. So I wanted to show you all, because I get asked a lot, how I develop my grocery list and how I do my meal planning. So let me go ahead and screen record. Okay, so this is just in the Notes app on my phone. Billy and I have a shared note called Grocery List, so he has access to it as well. Usually we take turns picking meals, but I just kind of took control of it because he was sleeping on the plane. But you'll notice at the top is the actual grocery list, and I list all of the items in the order that I come across them in the grocery store. It just makes sense in my brain. Typically, Billy and I will do a grocery pickup. So we'll place our order online and then just drive and they will put it in our car for us. But for whatever reason, when I get back from a trip, I like to go walk the grocery store. I always love to walk the grocery store, and especially in the summer when I have time, perfect. After that, you'll notice I have a spot where I will typically write any items that are on sale at H-E-B or Aldi. However, those are currently blank because we were traveling and I didn't have access to it because I didn't have Wi-Fi on the plane. So I based this grocery list instead of on sale items, just on things that sounded good or things that I knew we had here at home. Then I list out the meals for the week. We typically plan Sunday through Saturday. So we will grocery shop on Sunday morning and then plan through the end of the week. Now, because we are coming back from a trip, this week is technically starting on Tuesday. And because I wasn't basing this on anything on sale, I just thought, what sounds good to me this week? And as much as Billy and I love Asian food, we kind of need a break from it for a bit. So I thought, I was like, you know what? Mexican sounds really good because we have not had Mexican food for a while. So for Tuesday, we're having a one-pot Mexican chicken and rice. And then you'll notice the picture underneath. This is a screenshot from a digital cookbook that I have from LILLIE Eats and Tells. Love her recipes. You don't have to buy her cookbooks. I have her one and then one more. And then I also have her original cookbook and I love them. I do recommend them, but she has tons of free recipes on her website. That's where I started. But because I have her digital cookbooks, I will sometimes take screenshots of the pages and then I will just crop them down. But it makes it really easy because then I can zoom in on like the ingredients as I make my grocery list. So once I picked that meal, I went through this list and said, all right, we already have olive oil. We do need onions. We need bell peppers. We've got garlic. We've got all the spices. I've got tomato paste. We've got rice cauliflower because we get that from Costco. So I just looked through the list and added those items in based on what we needed. It's also really convenient because then when I'm cooking, I just click on that and pull up the recipe. Wednesday, I'm gonna make like a bolognese. I'm gonna have mine over like a zucchini pasta, but Billy's gonna have like regular pasta. So I just kind of added to the list, like basically I just need diced tomatoes. I'm gonna add in, I need to take off carrots because I looked in the fridge and the carrots we have are still good. I also need to take off celery. Okay, but I am gonna get mushrooms to add into that. Then Thursday, we call them Mediterranean bowls. It's just kind of like a Greek-esque bowl, but we basically just put lettuce and then I'm gonna get a big thing of chicken. I call it a flat. I don't know what anyone else calls it. I recently said that around my coworkers and they were like, a what? And I was like, a flat of chicken. It's like the big pack of chicken where it's like 5 pounds of chicken breast. So we will use that for like 4 meals throughout the week. And then I will pickle some red onion, cut up some cucumber, like you can put whatever you want on it. We love a good bowl. Then Friday, I kept it simple, barbecue chicken and veggies. We don't need anything for that. I'm already getting the chicken, we have barbecue sauce, and we have frozen veggies. So the meals don't have to be complicated. Saturday, chicken coleslaw. I don't know what else to call this, but I just take a bag of like coleslaw mix, like just the cabbage and carrots. I make my own dressing out of Greek yogurt, Dijon mustard, apple cider vinegar, a little bit of sweetener, salt, pepper, garlic. I think that's it. And I just blend it up, and you can do it to taste. And then I pour that over the coleslaw mix, add in some chicken, and we eat it cold. It's nice because you can prep it in advance. Underneath is the ongoing Costco list. So these are all things that we will buy from Costco. And whenever we're out of one of them, if I'm like, oh, we need more rice cauliflower, I will just click it. And then when we get to the store and we put it in the cart, I unclick it. That's like my little system. But sometimes I go into Costco and I can't remember all the things that we buy there. So this is like the ongoing list of things that we buy at Costco. But now when I go to HEB, I've got my grocery list. It's already in the order that I will go around the store. I will check off the items as we go. And then that's it. Just gotta put it away. So here was the haul. The only things I was not able to get were almond milk because they were out, although I checked and we have enough. We go through almond milk quite frequently now, so I will need to get more later in the week, but it's fine. And they were out of the Hershey's Special Dark Cocoa Powder, which is my favorite. So I am waiting to get that. It's just one of those things that we ran out of and need to stock up on again. And then I did get a can of tomato sauce in addition to the diced tomatoes. And I did get this bag of mini bell peppers. I still got the 2 regular bell peppers that I will use in the Mexican rice. But I got these mini bell peppers because they were on sale for less than $2. And I love these for like snacking. Sometimes I'll open up canned chicken, make a little like buffalo chicken dip and eat it with the peppers. So all of this was $40. I feel like that's very reasonable. This will be 5 days worth of food for us. Now, granted, it's only 2 of us. We don't have kids. Billy will typically eat leftovers for lunch. If there's a lot of leftovers, I'll eat those as well. If not, I have a bunch of like oats and things in the pantry that I use. So we didn't necessarily have to buy things specifically for like lunches. You'll also notice I didn't get a lot of like snacky items because we kind of have a stockpile of that in the pantry. But even getting like eating healthy, I always hear is really expensive, but getting like fresh produce like this, even without shopping the sales, very, very reasonable. All right, we are on cup number 3. I still need to go to the gym, but I think I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. I've also been having some digestive issues the past 3 days, which is no surprise. When I travel and eat outside of what my normal routine is, my stomach gets a little angry with me. It's worth it because I love to taste all the things, but...
Well, sometimes my stomach hurts when you come into my office.
I think it'll be better to wait for my stomach to settle a little bit. Plus, I have a really bad headache. I think the water will help, but I just need to get some more fluids into my system. So I'm trying to give myself grace. I still need to get my training session in, but I can do that a little bit later on. I think for now, I need to focus on catching up on work because I chose to not take my laptop on this trip, which I 100% think was the right decision. I wouldn't have even had time if we're being honest. Plus, I needed that time to step away from work and to kind of force myself to have no option but to just relax and enjoy the experience. But as a result, I'm now kind of behind and need to get caught up, mostly on emails, and this is my own fault. You may have seen one of my last vlogs that went up. I had created these science notes and I had said, hey, if you, I guess I worded it wrong because I think what I meant was like, hey, if you teach 4th grade science in Texas and use McGraw-Hill, I will send you the slides because they will match up with the curriculum. But I think I just said, like, if you want them, I'll send them to you, which I'm fine doing. As a result, I think a lot of the people that reached out to me don't teach in Texas, don't teach 4th grade, or don't teach using McGraw-Hill, or specifically McGraw-Hill in Texas, because it's different than McGraw-Hill in other states. So some of you who are gonna get an email from me, I don't even know if it's gonna be helpful for you, although I know teachers just love free stuff, so they're like, it's fine, I'll find a way to make it work. But I have, I think it's close to like 500 emails that I need to reply to and send that to. and that's gonna take a while. Yeah, I'm gonna make an email template, so your response from me, sorry, it's gonna be an email template because I just don't have the capacity to individualize 500 emails, plus some of the other work that I need to catch up on. Ugh. And the reason I need to get it done, not necessarily today, but within the next like 2 or 3 days, is because I'm leaving again this weekend for a short trip, and then after that I'm leaving for a longer trip. So this weekend, starting on Sunday, I'm going to San Antonio for ISTE, which I'm really, really excited about. I will be there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'll be gone for 4 days, and I'll have my laptop. I'll still be able to get work done, so I'm not too worried about that. But then on July 7th, which I think is a Monday, I am leaving with my parents to go to Spain for a cruise. And that was my like Christmas gift to them. I surprised them with the cruise. I'm really, really looking forward to it, but we are gone from the 7th until the 18th. So it'll be another kind of lengthy trip, and I just don't know what the connection is gonna be like. And I feel like when I get back from that, it's like basically time to go back to school. So now you know why I was preloading a lot of my like summer work stuff, because now I'm just at the point where I don't have a ton of time. But I've rambled on long enough for this vlog, and I was gonna record some B-roll of me just like answering emails, but y'all have seen me type on a computer before. I don't think it's necessary. If you enjoyed this video and just kind of hanging out with me for the day, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. As always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, or in the summer, shorts. And I will catch you in the next one.